Hello, everyone. Dr. Victoria Skirbo here, speaking to you from the Seeds of Transformation Healing Center in Wareham, Massachusetts. Today, we're going to do the astrology of the week from January 17th, which is today, a Sunday, until the 23rd, which is next Saturday. Of course, here in the US, we are pretty much locked down in a way that we have never quite been locked down before, between COVID-19 raging and after the insurrection at the Capitol. There is a lot of security around the Capitol. In fact, I believe they said there are more soldiers in Washington than there are in Afghanistan and Iraq put together, which is interesting. So I want to say a couple of things because this is a pretty intense week, as was last week, and it did not, we knew something was going to happen. We knew something was going to happen. And something will continue to happen this week. But there are a couple of things I want to remind you of. And if you want to check this out, you can check this out on my January 2021 Numerology and Kabbalah report, if you want a little bit more information about this. It's definitely worth a look-see again, and I will put it in the descriptor below. You want to just click on that to see what I had to say about the Numerology and Kabbalah of January 2021. First of all, we need to look at the universal year vibration. We changed from a 4 to a 5 when we moved into 2021. 5 is the vibration of change, and it is a vibration of choice to a certain extent. We choose whether we are going to sort of move on and ascend, or are we going to spiral down into chaos? That's a choice we have when we're in a 5-year. Change needs to be based on previous responsible action. Otherwise, we can't actually have, well, we can have change, but freedom, which is another 5 vibration, can only be had if we've done the work, unless we've created the foundations to stand on that freedom. And those foundations can be financial, they can be intellectual, they can be emotional. Have you done your work? There are a lot of people out there pontificating who perhaps haven't quite done the work. But, that's up to you and your discernment. So there's that. Now, in the tarot, the 5 card is the Hierophant. And it is a card of agency. And so we need to listen to that still small voice within. We need to listen to what our instincts and our intuition is telling us. Because in a time of great change, you have to be aware of your environment, and you have to be aligned with your purpose so that when you have to take action, the action comes from a centered place. Now, January of 2021 vibrates to a 6. If you add the universal year vibration of 5 to the month vibration of 1, we get a 6. And the 6 is about choices, and the 6 is about responsibility, and the 6 is about community endeavor. We're dealing with the Lover's card and the sign of Gemini when we look at the number 6. And so we have a choice. And of course, this vibration has been has been vibrating, I guess we could say, since the beginning of January. And we have seen people make choices. Some of them informed by lies, others just bad decisions. and some people some good decisions, right? So, and certainly the election in Georgia was part of that decision making. And so we're standing on the precipice of a whole new energy. And I think the thing that concerns me most is don't want to see what happened after 9/11 happen now, where we got so caught up into fear that we closed ourselves off. And part of that closing off, I think, has fomented a lot of what we're experiencing at this time. That's just my own sort of angle on that. You don't have to certainly ever agree with me. But this is a time of revolution. It's a time of evolution. And it's important that we don't get so caught up in the fear of change, which can happen in a 5-year, that we close ourselves off to it. We need to flow with the change. We need to flow with the energy. This is an opportunity, a great opportunity for us to create a whole new order, and one based on humanitarian ideals. We just had a conjunction between Jupiter and Saturn, starting a 20-year synodic cycle. And that can be the vision of a great society, but it can also be a vision of being spied upon and controlled via technology. And so we have to be aware of that. And we have to focus. I was going to say fight, but not necessarily fight. We have to focus on the world we want to see and not reflect back what these seditionists or these white supremacists are trying to put forth. You have to fear one another, fear us, fear. Haven't we had 4 years of fear? Enough. It's time for love. It's time for love. All right, so let's get on with the week. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, today, and the major aspect that's occurring today. Let me share my screen here with you, and let me just find. Yes, okay, here we go. So today is the 17th of January. The moon is in Pisces. The big story today is a square between Uranus and Jupiter. And if we look here on this chart, here's Jupiter at 7 degrees of Aquarius, and here's Uranus at 7 degrees of Taurus. And we can see that they are square one another. When you look at two planets in a relationship to one another, not only are they in a geometrical relationship to one another, but they're also in what we call a phasal relationship. The phasal relationship is actually based on the lunation cycle that was brought to our attention by Dane Rudger and any number of other astrologers. There's a great book, Finding Your Way Through the Dark, by Demetra George, that discusses the lunation cycle, among other things. It's a great book. All her books are great, gems, they're all gems. So we have a square between these, and this creates a crisis. Now, you can have two planets square each other in a different phasal relationship. It could be one of two. It could be either a first quarter crisis in action square or a last quarter crisis in consciousness square. The crisis in action is self-explanatory. You feel the need to take an action in order to survive. That is not the type of square that we have here. We have a crisis in consciousness square, and this makes us question makes us question our reality, makes us question our truth, what we think is true, what we don't think is true. It is also an aspect of individuation when you turn your back on those who are supposedly or who are in power, what they say. Do you agree with it? Do you go along with it? Or are you going to go in a different direction? That's the last quarter square. And that's what we have here. Uranus is the great awakener, and Jupiter can be the truth. So we can get awakened to the truth. Now, will everybody be awakened to the truth? Probably not. But things are being revealed. This is a time of revelation. And what's interesting about this particular synodic cycle is that it began back in 2010 when these two planets were conjoined. Now, there were actually 3 conjunctions of these planets, and I'm going to show you them because I have them right here. So this was back in 2010 on June 8th, we had the conjunction between Jupiter and Uranus, and it was in the first degree of Aries. The first degree of the cardinal signs are the most potent part of the tree, of the astrological mandala, because it is really the tree of life. It's the 4 corners. It's the change of seasons. It's the initiation. And so back in 2010, we had an initiation concerning Uranus, the great awakener, in the I am of Aries, and Jupiter. Okay. And so there was an expansion and an understanding of the I am principle spiritually. It could also create a I am consciousness in a narcissistic and chaotic way. Okay, so that was all. These things are they're seated, and it's up to us what we do with it. There is no judgment in the stars. It's what we decide, what choice we make, how we're going to express this. We also had so the second conjunction actually occurred in the sign of Pisces, and we can see this right here. Uranus and Jupiter, Uranus and Jupiter both had retrograded back into Pisces and made a conjunction at 29 degrees of Pisces. So we had a conjunction at 1 degree of Aries, 29 degrees of Pisces. And then lastly, the last of these conjunctions occurred in 2011, January 4th. And it occurred in, in 28 degrees of Pisces. And what's interesting about this is that this occurred right around a new moon. And I believe that new moon was an eclipse. It wouldn't have been, it was a north node eclipse. And it wouldn't have been total because of the difference between where the sun and the moon would be and where the node was, but it was definitely an eclipse. And if we go back to that time and just ask, what is an eclipse, a north node eclipse in Capricorn talking about? It's talking about becoming an authority in your own life. It's talking about maturing and taking on responsibility. And the thing is that, many Americans who were backing Donald Trump did not want to take responsibility for anything. They just want to blame everybody else. And that's what Donald Trump was doing. So they were agreeing with that. Are they all like that? Do they blame everything on everybody else? Probably not. But in this case, they do. And, there's a kernel of truth for all of this, because the government is there to take care of the people, and the government is not. And why is that? Because there's money in politics. Money in politics, guys. I'm not going to pontificate about that. I just want to point out as long as the lobbyists are determining what laws get passed, it's not a representative democracy, and they can manipulate. And the people who want to hold all the power could very easily pit us against each other. And so if you really want freedom, and if you really want agency, and if you really want things to change in your life, you're going to have to hold them accountable, but not through violence, through awareness and learning what you need to learn, and putting pressure in the way a democracy needs to put pressure. And then, of course, we have, it seems like our only real power sometimes is how we spend our money. And so you can be very particular about where you put your resources. Maybe even more so than that. Where we put our attention matters more than ever. Why do you think there was an insurrection? Why do you think Donald Trump got as far as he did? Because he knew how to hold people's attention. And so we need to take that back and take responsibility for where we're putting our attention. I suggest you put your attention in the direction of the type of world that you want to see. Okay, so enough pontificating. So we look at this square today between Jupiter and Uranus, and we cannot really take our eyes off of the fact that Mars is within a little more than 1 degree away. This is what we are waiting for the other shoe to drop. We are waiting for the explosion. This occurring in Washington, D.C. at 5:50 tonight, in that 10th house, it's possible we could hear something, some information coming out of the White House. I don't know. They've taken Trump's ability to communicate, for the most part, away. But this is a very tense situation. And this is a crisis in consciousness. It is a crisis in the way we think about something. And its true function is for us to move away from the more hierarchical control of society into a more horizontally community-based, interactive, really kind of the United States, but having them be united kind of idea. So this is a real test of democracy. We have to remember that Uranus is associated with democracy. And so one of the things that I pointed out this morning that I think is also important to realize is that this is our opportunity for revolution, for a new way of doing it. I want to remind you that those people, those seditionists at the Capitol on the 6th were the old guard, not the new guard, the old guard. And there is a rising up of the people calling for equality, calling for fairness, calling for healing. And that's where we want to put our attention, on that. Not on these posers. They're dangerous though, so I'm not going to say much more, just in case. You do have to be careful what you say, right? Because people are nuts. All right. So here is the square. We can also see here that we have this giant mutable square between Vesta in Virgo opposite Neptune and square the nodes on both sides. So the nodes in the North Node in Gemini requires us to see things for what they really are, to follow the facts. The South Node in Sagittarius is asking us to let go of beliefs, illusions, delusions that no longer serve. Lots of people are awakening now, and we'll see what that means as we move through 2021. But the revolution is not over, and we'll talk about that when I talk about the major aspects of 2021, which I have not been able to get to yet, but I will. So that's today. So today is another one of those days where we're being faced with choices, we're being faced with crisis. And incidentally, the sun today is conjunct the Pluto of the United States, the United States birth chart, July 4th, 1776, illuminating the power, illuminating perhaps the peaceful or not peaceful transfer of power that we're going to have. Also, Pluto is the soul of the nation. So the soul is being illuminated, the soul is being bared, and along with that is the shadow. And we need to look at it and we need to heal it. Okay, let's go on to the next day here. All right, next day. Whoops. All right, so I need to share a different screen. Let me see here, guys. Sorry about this. Okay, I think this is it. Okay, so now we're looking at the 18th, which is Monday. It's the official Martin Luther King Day, an official holiday, federal holiday here. The moon has moved into Aries, and we can see at this point in the day anyway, we're looking at a little after 1 o'clock, the moon has just made a conjunction to Aries. And so we have Aries Chiron in Aries. Chiron in Aries is the wound of narcissism. It's the toxic masculinity. It's a wound around identity. We've talked about this over and over again. And with the moon there, we are feeling rather raw. At the same time, on this day, the moon makes sextiles to both Saturn and Jupiter. These are Saturn and Jupiter being the focal planets, the slower moving planets. As the moon moves away, we have an opportunity to talk, to discuss, to communicate our feelings about things. The other thing that's happening here is that Jupiter is sextile Chiron here. Saturn is sextile Chiron. We're discussing the wound. We're discussing as a society where the wound is and what the issue is. And also perhaps we're looking at the real cost of the lack of gun control in this country, that we could actually have an armed insurrection by people who are anti-government because there are just so many guns. This is another discussion that's being had at this time. Simultaneously up here, we have Ceres conjunct Neptune in Pisces. Ceres can be our grief. This can be about death and such. And so we can see here in this particular just snapshot of a day that we are looking at issues. This is the pandemic right here. So there are so many things. We have the pandemic on one end. We have the white supremacists on the other end. We have the people on the other end. This is a very transformational time. And not to put too fine a point on it, but the United States is in the throes of its Pluto return. We've talked about this before. This has been going on for quite a while. Some astrologers believe that when we're dealing with these larger cycles, you can start to feel it when it's 15 degrees away from the natal point. Certainly 10, and seeing as we are looks like 3 degrees away, we're definitely feeling that energy. So, and of course, we have this giant square in the chart, as always, which that will not change. Okay, let's bring it to the 19th, and the 19th is Tuesday, and on the 19th, the sun moves into Aquarius. At this moment here, the sun is at the last degree of Capricorn. What's going to happen when the sun conjuncts Aquarius on the 19th is that it is going to conjunct the point where Saturn and Jupiter made their conjunction back on winter/summer solstice, depending on where you are in the world, on the 21st of December. That beautiful conjunction that so many of us either saw in person, if you were lucky enough, or certainly there was plenty of video of it, and it was spectacular, spectacular. And the fact that we could see it, because you can't always see these things. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. But that promise, so we bring the sun comes to that point of promise, and a promise for the future. So that's very, that's actually very good. And so we will see that. Now, the next day is the inauguration day. And this is actually, let's see, this is at 12:53. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back actually to the actual inauguration, if I can. Let me see, I'll do 30 minutes. Let's see if I can bring it back. So that's 12:23, 11:53. And let me just bring it a minute at a time. We'll bring it forward, and we'll bring it right to noon, which is when the inauguration is happening. Okay, so we can see the sun in Aquarius here still. Now it's going to be getting closer to a conjunction to Saturn. We can see that Mars and Uranus are within minutes of each other, conjunct the moon in a mundane chart. The moon is the United States, is the people. In the last degree of Aries, this is the same degree that the insurrection occurred on. When Mars moved into that last degree of Aries, that's when things really sort of moved forward and got a lot of traction. I think what I'll do is I'll do a separate thing on the inauguration chart this week, and I'm going to try to get maybe another 1 or 2 astrologers to talk about it. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I have to get that done too. So on this day, we do have, and I'll see, I can do maybe 10 minutes ahead. Oh, probably I need to go further than that. But on this day, we'll see that we have, and you can see, just look over here, you'll see these two things coming together closer and closer. Now they're three minutes away from each other, 2 minutes away. At this time, the moon has moved into Taurus, and we're almost there to that conjunction. 42, 44, 42, 40, 43, 44. Let's keep going. And we will see that right here, we have the conjunction between Uranus and Mars. It's occurring, this is Washington, D.C., it is occurring in the 11th house. The 11th house of the people, the 11th house of the Senate, the 11th house. What I think might happen at this time is that we may get some information about who in the Congress was part of the conspiracy for the attack of the Capitol. I think we might be getting some information on that. We can see that we have a T-square here. Not only is this square Jupiter, not only is this square Saturn, but it is also square the sun. It is also square the sun. These are, in the case of Saturn and Jupiter, these are last quarter crisis in consciousness squares. In the sun, we have a last quarter. It's not quite to the last quarter, but it's moving towards that last quarter crisis in consciousness square. Jupiter, we've already had that square, and Saturn will be following. Oh no, we already had Saturn, and now we had first we had Saturn square it, then we had Jupiter square it. That was Monday, and now we have this conjunction. And so this is a very, very powerful and potent time. Again, right at the top of the chart, we have this indication of the suffering and the death associated with COVID. Opposite, the need to get the vaccine, Vesta in Virgo, taking care of the health issues, So this is a very important time. A lot of things are coming together all at once. A lot of things are coming together all at once. And we can take this energy. We can take this energy and we can focus our intention on love and goodness and working together and working together to make this country and this world a better place. That's where you want to put your focus. Have I said that enough? I feel like, well, it is Sunday, right? I get to do this pontificating. Oh, hi there, little Wren. Little Wren's out there. You know what she says. Doesn't matter how small you are, have your voice heard. Anybody who heard my my morning walk through my winter garden, which some people are commenting on, it's fine. It's fine. There is a beauty. I do have like less things to show. I have to find places, different places for you to look. It's just not a lot of green, but okay. Anyway, yeah, the wren was speaking yesterday, and the blue jays. They were yelling pretty loud. Stay aware, stay awake, watch where you're going. Keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open, not just for danger, but for opportunity. For opportunity. And remember, you know, you can spend this time just meditating or just being out in nature. You don't have to watch it. It's happening. It's going to happen without you. Perhaps that's what you need to do. So, all right. So that is Inauguration Day. Big doings. And then let's go to the next day. Let's do one day. We'll move this forward. And we're on the 21st, And on the 21st, the moon will make a conjunction to Uranus. At this point, it already did. So now on the 21st, the day after the inauguration, we have the moon. And let me show you this because I think this is worth looking at. Let's do 10. Let's do 30 minutes. Just to show you how this goes. 30 minutes. Hold on. All right, we're going to back up a little because we're going to make the moon. We're going to back up. Sorry, I know this. You're probably getting dizzy. You're looking right here. All right. Okay. And here we go. Okay, so here we are. This is the 21st still. This is about looks like 2:50 in the morning. 2:50 in the morning, is that what that says? Yeah. So in the middle of the night, for most of us, we have Mars making a conjunction to Uranus. And then it's going to make, we'll continue 10 minutes. There it is. It's made its conjunction. Now it's moving to Mars. It makes its conjunction. And so by 4 o'clock in the morning, the moon has moved over that Uranus-Mars conjunction. That is an awakening for us, guys. An awakening. All right. I believe that Joe Biden wants to get right in and start with executive orders. He has a whole list of them. I'm wondering if he will get to them on the 21st or not. So that is important. And then we will see as we move through the day, we'll see that the moon makes a square to Jupiter. That's going to, that's also, and that square is a crisis in action. So we have the moon, we have the conjunction on the 20th, and then the moon goes over those points on the 21st, and then it makes square to Jupiter. That's a crisis in action square. It's about getting down to work right away. And so I think that he's going to be in the White House the next day doing these executive orders, assuming everything works out through the inauguration. But he's hitting the ground running. He's been chomping at the bit for months now. And things are going to change. This is a lot of energy behind, this is a lot of energy and a lot of power in the hands of somebody who wants to help us, people, who wants to help us. All right, let's see what else, what's next. All right, on the 22nd, let's do a day ahead here. Let's do one day and we'll move into the 22nd. All right, so here's January 22nd. What is happening on the 22nd? The moon is in Taurus. It does go void of course, at 4:28 p.m. on the East Coast of the US. So let's see, here's the moon. So the moon is going to be making a trine to Neptune. Where is, I'm sorry, not the moon, sorry, the moon is making a trine to Venus. This is a lovely, creative, self-expressive trine in Taurus and Capricorn. This is help is on the way, folks. Help from the government is on the way. Monetary help, essential needs, moon in Taurus. What else is the moon doing? The moon is making a sextile to Neptune. This is a Gemini side sextile. It is about communicating with compassion. And then the moon makes a square to Mercury. And it's a little bit further than this. It'll make a square to Mercury, first quarter crisis in action square, and then a trine to Pluto. And so this can be a day when things are moving forward to help us here who need help. And I apologize for having this be all about America. All of these energies can be expressed in where you live as well. Perhaps not in such a phantasmagorical way as we are here because of the situation we find ourselves in. And we are the country having our Pluto return. So, and we're the most powerful country, and we have the nuclear codes. This is important for the whole world. And of course, The United States has Chiron in Aries, so we do have a tendency to only think about ourselves when it comes to this stuff. So my apologies for my country, a little bit, a little bit. All right, and then the 23rd, let's go to the next day. And the next day, like things aren't quite quiet yet, guys. Things are still happening. And the major aspect is Mars square Jupiter. Here's Jupiter here. Here's Mars. This is just after the square. See, almost exactly the square here. And this is a crisis in action. Jupiter can be the Congress, right? Jupiter can be Jupiter can be the truth as well. All of this points to right out of the gate getting stuff done, And I think that these 2 weeks are going to be especially important to get things done, because at the end of the month, Mercury goes retrograde. It's going to be a little bit harder to get things accomplished because of that, but we'll talk about that, when it gets closer. Okay. So the square between Mars and Jupiter is a first quarter crisis in action square. And so you can apply this in your own life. You can take an action that's necessary. What actions do you need to take? Actions that are practical, Taurus, slow and steady wins the race, based on a belief that we can do this together, Aquarius. That we need a new order, that we need to take care. We are our brothers and sisters, keepers. What I find amazing is that the tenets of Jesus would say, you are your brothers and sisters keeper. What you do to the least of us, you do to me. That's how I learned it. Okay. We also have on this day, we have Venus. Where's Venus? There's just so many planets here. Sometimes I get lost. Even I get lost in this. All right, here we go. Venus is making a sextile to Neptune. This is a Aquarius side sextile, and this is part of a synodic cycle. The synodic cycle goes for 360 degrees. We're at the 300-degree mark, so we only have another 60 degrees before we find Venus and Neptune making another conjunction in 2021. But this is a point where we can really move in the direction of progressiveness and compassion and help. So there is help coming. The cavalry is coming, people. The cavalry is coming. And then lastly, and I am going to, let's see, this is the 23rd. I'm going to do this by hours now. Whoops. Because what's capping off this day is a conjunction between the Sun and Saturn. And here's the Sun and Saturn right here. We're looking for the Sun to get to the same degree as Saturn. So just keep following that Sun, Saturn. There it is. Let's see, where are we at? We're at 12:58. The Sun, Saturn occurs at night. It's getting closer here. Now the Sun has gone down. It's closer still. It's not quite there yet. Almost, guys, almost. Sun, Saturn. Here we go. Yeah. So the Sun just moved past. So let's go back. You see Saturn here and the Sun here. And the next hour, we see the Sun on the other side of Saturn. So this is the Sun-Saturn conjunction. And that is occurring at 5 degrees of Aquarius. And the Sun-Saturn conjunction is a synodic cycle that brings illumination to the type of structures that we need, the type of structures that need to be recognized and built. So I'm going to look at the Sabian symbol for that. Let me just do that. So here we have Aquarius, 5 degrees, which is where the degree that the Sun and Saturn are conjuncting. And I need to share this with you. I'm not sharing the right screen. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. It says a council of ancestors is seen implementing the efforts of a young leader. Keynote, the root foundation of past performance, which power and sustain whatever decision is made in a crisis by an individual. The whole past of mankind stands behind any individual effort, especially in times of critical decisions. The endeavor of the priests who built the California missions have had behind it the whole past of Catholic proselytizing. An example, an attempt to bring the good news to all people of the earth. Every individual is far more dependent upon the strength of their ancestors' achievements or oppression by their failures or lack of vision than they usually believe. This can mean a hidden foundation of individual strength or inertia to a tradition unable to transcend its limited origins. This is an opportunity for us to build a new foundation from which to work upon. And certainly that's going to happen. Certainly that's going to happen. And we need to be aware of that. It says this suggests it suggests that many situations reliance upon precedents will enable the aspirant to greatness to tap in the power of their deepest roots. So I would say that we could take America and its founding principles and apply them equally to everyone. Wouldn't that be lovely? All right, so that's what I see for the week. Very interesting, very exciting. The next thing I'm going to do is a card reading. So let me grab my cards and we will start again. All right, I'm back. So we're going to be doing a reading on this week, this very, very powerful week ahead. What do we need to be aware of? I think we'll do a truncated Celtic cross. I'm going to be using the Voyager deck. It's a deck I've had for years. I don't use it that often. It feels very 60s to me, quite frankly. Very Aquarian. The back of this deck, this picture here, is a view of the DNA molecule, looking down the DNA molecule. Isn't that fascinating? Just fascinating, right? Yeah, I've had this deck a long, long time. So let's see, what is up for this week, January 17th through the 23rd. What do we need to be aware of? What's the energy? What is the potential? What do we need to know? What do we need to know? Just want to do a real good job on shuffling these. Okay. I don't want to cut. So if that's the case, just do a shuffle. One more. Just checking to see if there's any birds that have anything to say. No, the feeder is quiet. It's interesting. I have been doing this now since the beginning of the month. And the other day I noticed that every time I did this, I was wearing pink. And so I purchased another pinky thing because I don't have a lot of pink. But it seems like it's a theme. So I am wearing pink today. I'm wearing rhodochrosite. Is it rhodochrosite, which is for the heart chakra. It's also the, I believe it's the, or is it rhodonite? It's this is rhodochrosite. I was going to say is the Massachusetts gem, but I think I think the gem from Massachusetts is rhodonite, not rhodochrosite. Okay. All right, here we go. First card out of the deck is the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands. This is called, in this deck, it's called oppression. Where is it? It's oppression. But we can see by the picture that there is a sense of fracture. There's a fractured quality to this picture. People trying to escape. And what it feels like to me is they're trying to escape the prison of their minds, the prison of their minds, or in the case of Wands, the prison of their beliefs, their prison of the beliefs. So they are, to a certain extent, imprisoned by the things that they believe. Now let's see what's crossing that. The Two of Worlds. This is the Two of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles deals with our ability to balance our finances, our essential needs. I think that a good cure to what ails us is to help people with their essential needs. I think that is a way, well, certainly that's going to be the way forward. Whether or not people can escape from that mass hypnosis that occurred is another question. Let's see what's at the root here. We have trust, the Six of Wands. The Six of Wands. At the root, we need to trust that goodness will prevail. We need to trust. We need to stand on that. We need to stand on that trust. And of course, the Six of Wands in other decks is the victory card. So we need to stand on the victory of Joe Biden. The people have spoken. And Joe Biden is our president. Whether you like it or not, folks, he's our president. You know, those of us who didn't want Trump to be our president, and we said, he's not my president. He was our president. And it was a very painful 4 years. So now Joe Biden is our president. And you may think it's going to be a painful 4 years. If you think it's going to be a painful 4 years, it's because you're going to make it that way. I'm telling you right now. Let's see what's in the past. We have the Sage of Wands, the Sage of Wands. I believe in this deck, the Sage is the king, So we have all these hawks here in this picture. Hawks are messages from spirit. Hawks are asking us to look at the big picture and the details at the same time. The fire has been lit. The Sage of Wands symbolizes, you know, more people voting than ever before. People getting invested in the future. Let's see what's in the sky. The Four of Worlds, the Four of Pentacles, this is called commencement. This is the beginning of the new order. This is the beginning of, four is about foundational stuff, pentacles, money, resources. This is about taking our resources and combining them in such a way to create a structure that we can stand on, And let's see the future. The Man of Cups. This is the Knight of Cups. The Man of Cups. This could be Joe Biden, right? Asking for conciliation. So there is healing coming, folks. There is healing coming. So what I would say, do not let fear, because there was, except for the beginning, the first card, which isn't really a card of fear, it's a card of confusion and chaos because of your ideas and your beliefs and your all that fire stuff. that's not fear, that's chaos. It's a little different. I can't say we have nothing to fear because that would be ridiculous to say. There's always, a chance. But if you don't focus on it, there's a better chance that it won't happen. So don't focus on it. No, don't give reasons to be fearful. Part 3000. How many lies did he tell? 30,000? I don't know. Something like that. Who counts those things? Just count every other word that comes out of his mouth, right? But that was then. This is now. That's over. That's over, guys. And we're moving forward. Let's take this very energetic and somewhat scary, but hopeful time, and let's bring it forward into the future in a way that's going to help us and not harm us. So, that being said, have yourself a great week. Don't get caught up in the fear. If you find yourself doing that, shut the television off, please, and go do something that's going to bring peace and harmony to your being. Because if we can do that and observe to a certain extent as somewhat of at an arm's length, perhaps, what is going on and see a greater picture, I think that we're going to be amazed at just how amazing this week turns out to be. And we'll look back and say, wow, that was the week. That was the week. So much love, everyone. We're going to do this together every day. I'll be out there in my fallow garden, or close if it's raining too hard. And we'll be with you. We're going to walk through this together. We are a community. We're a community based on love and wanting to support one another. I so appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Much love. And I will see you again soon. Like and subscribe. Take care.